Turn me off. Crypto! No!
As luck would have it, one of America's two most powerful villains of the next decade
is turned loose to strike terror into the hearts of men. To shock women into uncontrolled hysteria.
Don't touch that!
The villains themselves were ultimately responsible for much of the popularity. Audiences love to hate.
Welcome to the villains of YouTube! I'm Eli Wilbur.
I'm Justin Daly.
And this is the villains of YouTube.
We're bad people.
We're terrible people.
Yeah.
Alright, man. What's going on today? Well, you know what? I'll tell you what's going on. We're just going to talk about Batman this episode. There's a lot of things that we need to discuss. We have a YouTube comment that we need to talk about. We have an awesome TV show that's coming out that we need to talk about. And we're going to riff on Batman and the DC universe as a whole, but mostly Batman. So why don't we just get started? If you watched our last episode, it involved the Batmobile a little bit. We did a 6-minute little segment talking about the Batmobile and how excited we are for the new Batman Superman movie.
Right.
Then we got a YouTube comment about it, which I make it sound like it's a bad thing, but we encourage the YouTube comments. Keep them coming. Yes. We're so grateful for it. Jason Rico sent us a comment, and basically what he said was, why is there a turret? Why is there a giant turret on the Batmobile?
Why does Batman have awesome machine
toys
guns on the front of his Batmobile? Legitimate question.
It is a legitimate question because as we do know in the Batman saga that Bruce Wayne's parents were killed by a gun. So it only makes sense.
He hates guns.
He does hate guns. So this is a legitimate comment, but the first thing I'm going to point to is Tim Burton's 1980s Batman.
Had guns on it. He never shot anyone.
Not true. He shot at the Joker with the Batplane.
He shot around the Joker.
He shot around the Joker.
He's trying to intimidate the Joker, who you cannot intimidate.
No. No, especially the Jack Nicholson Joker, who, you know, people were like, oh, he's nothing compared to Heath Ledger, but Jack Nicholson Joker was pretty
amazing. Who says that?
Oh, you know, the new kids who saw The Dark Knight, it's like, this is my Joker, not Jack Nicholson.
Right. Next it's going to be like, oh, your guys' Ninja Turtle sucks. Ours is so much better.
You can't compare them. Back to Batman and the Bat guns, essentially. Batman 86 Batman, that had guns. Batman Returns, that had guns. I
want to say the Joel Schumacher ones maybe had guns.
Those don't count. The only incarnation of the Batmobile that we've seen, other than the Schumacher, that without guns is Adam West's Batmobile. That didn't. I don't think that had guns. It may have had some kind of weaponry, but
at the same time, I mean, like, I know I'm going to get some flack for this, but it's like, it's almost not even a Batmobile. It's just a convertible painted purple with the bat symbol.
I disagree. As a kid, you know, and I know you didn't grow up on the 60s.
I didn't grow up on the 60s Batman.
I did. That was my first introduction into Batman. So even though it did make fun of the comics, I was just like, this is Batman. I was a kid. I thought this was Batman. And then I got introduced to animated series, and that was a whole new Batman, but that led me further down to the rabbit hole.
Probably the best representation of Batman.
The Adam West Batmobile, I do consider it a Batmobile. I would like to see it in a museum with the other Batmobiles, because it does hold up. But, you know, that's the only incarnation without real weapons that we have seen.
Right.
And I even have to pull in the Tumbler. I mean, that Batmobile shot rockets at people.
Right.
So me as, let's say I'm Two-Face, and I'm coming up against Batman, would I rather his machine gun to hit me and a stray bullet to get me? Or would I rather get blown up by a torpedo from the Tumbler? I think I'd rather get hit by a machine gun.
Right. So I see where Jason Rico's coming from, where it's like, all right, there's a big giant turret gun on the front of the Batmobile. Like, yeah, like...
It's weird. It's weird because, again, we go back to the fact that Batman hates guns, and I understand that. But we also don't know the full context of this movie yet.
I hope he loads that machine gun up with kryptonite bullets and is just blasting Superman out of the sky.
Totally. I mean, we have seen that clip from Comic-Con where Batman's at the bat signal, and he's calling for Superman. Essentially, Superman comes in through the spotlight.
Yeah.
And Batman is wearing not just the bat suit. He's wearing an armored thing, an armored bat suit, like we've seen in The Dark Knight Returns. And that tells me they're not friends yet.
No.
They're gonna fight a little bit, and I think that this Batmobile is part of the equation. I think this Batmobile is gonna show Superman who's in charge of Gotham, and I think it's gonna be. I think you bring up a very valid point, Jason. But once again, the villains of YouTube have shown you that you're wrong. Let's move away from the YouTube comments. Let's talk a little bit about more Batman, but we're gonna talk about
more DC.
If we all remember, there was a time when DC didn't really have much going on
other than Batman. It's always been either Superman or Batman. They tried. I remember when I was a kid watching a Flash show.
There was a Flash show.
There was a lot of weird.
There was a Wonder Woman show at one point. Yeah.
Don't remember the Wonder Woman show. I remember the
Superboy?
Superwoman movie?
There was a Supergirl movie.
Supergirl movie.
Yes.
Sorry, yeah.
No, there was that.
There's been a lot remember that.
DC has tried, and that's the problem. DC has tried, and they didn't work out, and so they were like, no, we're not going to try again. And I think that's smart. If you mess up, you're going to go in your hole for a while, and you're going to be like, I don't want...
You got to rethink your life.
I don't want to talk to anyone. I just want to stare into the sky and think about what I did wrong.
Yeah.
And it paid off, because now they're back. DC... this year, we have Arrow on TV now.
Arrow's been out for a little while now.
Which is killing. I watch it a little bit. You've watched a little.
I couldn't get into it. And then maybe it has something to do with who's your favorite superhero? You know what I mean?
Right, exactly. So, I do like Green Arrow because he's Batman with bow and arrow, and I like archery. I'm into that. So it is a superhero I could get into, and I do read the comic books. I just couldn't get into the show that much. I am trying to get back into it, but DC has pretty much said we're gonna do.
So what do we got here? What do we got? We got Constantine.
So Constantine's coming to TV.
Yeah. We got Gotham coming out.
Gotham's coming out. We'll talk about Gotham in a minute. The Flash. Right. I'm very excited about the Flash.
The second try at the Flash.
The second try at the Flash.
It better be right, guys, because I remember even as a kid it being crap.
I can tell you right now, the Flash is one of the Justice League members who least interests me. And then DC just announced a Supergirl TV show, which could be cool. We'll see. I mean, at this point, like I said before, DC's kind of learned their lesson. Yeah. They've learned what works and what doesn't work. There was a press release not too long ago that kind of announced DC's plans for the Justice League franchise. I don't know, have you heard about this?
No.
They've decided to go the humorless route altogether, where Man of Steel kind of took out the camp.
Sorry, Jason Rico.
Sorry, Jason Rico. Sorry, fans of the campy, lighthearted DC universe.
Go hang out Kumbaya or something.
Go watch a Marvel movie. That's what I would say, is that Marvel's gonna keep it lighthearted. They got that formula down pat. They know how to do it. I don't think that works for DC. I think DC wants to keep it serious. They want to keep it action-packed, and this is the route for them. But they've said, no humor.
I prefer that route, because if it's too campy, people are going to complain it's not realistic.
AKA Green Lantern. That it failed. It was an epic failure because it was too much camp. And DC learned that lesson. So they're out of the humor business. I did hear rumors that the Shazam movie, Captain Marvel, whatever you want to call it,
yes,
will not take place in the Justice League universe, so there will be humor in it. It will be a little campy. So there you go. DC's still going to give you some camp. They're just not going to include it in their Justice League franchise, which, fine. I don't need it in the Justice League franchise, because if Batman's there, you can't be messing around with Batman. You can't be joking with Batman.
For me, the best title would just be Batman and the Justice League.
Back to the TV show thing. DC's really killing it on that. And I'm not even going to go into the cinematic universe because we've already talked about it a little bit. Right. But Gotham.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Gotham for a second. I'm really stoked because you didn't watch Batman 66, the Adam West Batman?
I watched quite a bit of it.
But it wasn't something that you
But it wasn't something I tuned into because, And it's funny because I'm older than you.
Yeah.
And like you watched this old Batman, but like my first Batman anything was in theaters. Tim Burton, the first Michael Keaton Batman. You know.
So that was Batman '66 was the first live action Batman on TV, and then flash forward many years later. Smallville happens, and there's rumors that maybe they'll bring in a young Bruce Wayne. We'll see maybe in a Lex Luthor flashback, maybe one of his private school mates was Bruce Wayne. They never did it, and it was disappointing for me because I was like, I just want Batman, just bring me more Batman. But they didn't do it. What they did instead was they brought out a little show called Birds of Prey.
Which I still haven't seen, and I've only seen the DVD cover of this thing. And I refuse to watch it because I just look at it and I know it's pretty bad.
It was. Mostly because it was so unfocused. You could tell that they were trying to do something cool, but they just didn't know what.
Yeah.
I will give it credit. That's the first anything to give a live-action Harley Quinn appearance. We finally see a live-action Harley Quinn for the first time there. They did Clayface at the series finale. They did some cool stuff.
How did that work out? How did it?
It was kind of lame. It was pretty lame. All the effects were lame. And again, this is at a time when effects in TV were still not wonderful. This was still the post Buffy the Vampire Slayer, where Buffy the Vampire Slayer was like the top dog in that genre.
Yeah.
And everyone was trying to be like that.
Okay, so yeah. Pre-Matrix, post-Buffy.
Yeah, so there was a lot of trying, and it just didn't work out. But for those who saw Birds of Prey or didn't see Birds of Prey, the premise was that Batman and Catwoman have a kid, and it's this chick, Helena, and she has superpowers. She's a metahuman for some reason, even though Catwoman and Batman weren't metahumans, but whatever. And she's fighting crime, following in their footsteps. And there are hints of maybe the return of Batman, maybe the return of Catwoman, all this stuff, and it was just all over the place, and it failed. Wow. Finally, DC gives us Gotham, which...
It better be brutal. It better be brutal. Gotham's a brutal place.
Gotham is a brutal place, yeah.
You know, I already have a little bit of problem with some of the stuff I've seen in the trailer. So, my thing with Gotham is that I feel like I don't want to get my hopes too high because...
It could be a major disappointment.
It could be a major disappointment.
You know? At this point, it's expected to be a disappointment. But man, I've read some reviews. I've watched some clips. I've read some articles, and I can't help but be stoked at this point. There just seems to be this overall feeling that this has to be good. Stay tuned to the Villains of YouTube because after Gotham premieres, we're going to dive into a review. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about what the things we liked. We're going to talk about the things we hated. And we're going to talk about the things we were expecting and didn't get. You know, it's going to happen. There's going to be some wins and some losers. But I'm excited. I hope you guys are excited. Yeah. We can't wait.
I am in the back of my mind a little excited.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to cover that with doubts and fear.
Exactly.
Because, hey, Walking Dead's coming out again, so it's like, okay, can I really be involved in this many shows at once?
Yeah.
But, you know, I love Batman, you know, and I love Gotham. I love the whole city. I love everything about it. You know, it's the filthiest, worst place on earth. I would live there. I don't know. I would like to live in Gotham.
It might be interesting.
I would join the Joker and become one of those, like, henchmen with the stupid mask, you know? Where'd you learn to count? You know, that guy.
It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be cool. So, you know, like I said, if you're excited, comment below. Tell us what you're expecting. Tell us what you're excited for. Not just in Gotham, but in the large spectrum of DC things that we've been talking about. You know, we can't wait to hear from you guys. But you know, it's hot. I don't know. We've got other things to do, so we're gonna go.
We got a life going on.
We're gonna go eat something. We're gonna go sleep. Think about our lives. Maybe do some. Oh my God!
So, quick lesson, YouTube. Never let your girlfriend cut your hair, because it becomes this. It becomes this monstrosity, this thing. So.
Yeah. With that, I'm Eli Wilbur,
and I was Justin Daly before this haircut,
and this was the Villains of YouTube.